Hello friends, let's welcome the panelists here, Ms. Alka Pandey and Kirandeep Kaur, both of whom are known for their love for art. Ms. Alka Pandey, who is a leading figure in the field of art and literature, and she is known as one of the renowned critics and cultural theorists. So also we have Kirandeep Kaur, who has art, particularly art of Fulkari at her heart, and she has been doing excellent work in this field. So I leave it to Alka to carry on with the session, and the session will be of 40-minute session.
Minutes.
Yeah, 40-minute session. Please be seated, enjoy yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the introduction, Damodar. I think I'll speak on behalf of Kirandeep and myself to say that how happy we are to be here, how happy we are to be invited by the Goa Arts and Literary Festival Society. Also, it's an occasion to share a part of the work which has not really found much notice in this part of our country. As always, technicals and things are inevitable, and we tried very hard to put everything in place and not be apologetic and say, please bear with us. But unfortunately, we have to begin with a little apology and say, please bear with us. The art of Fulkari, or the textile art, about how we've tried to make it as visible as possible. We're both wearing Fulkaris. We've got a bag on the side. We've got another bag here. In fact, Kirandeep and her husband Harinder, who run a store in Delhi called 1469, and who are trying to preserve, I would say preserve is an awful word, it's like preserving a pickle, but who are trying to keep the tradition going of the art of Fulkari. 8 months ago, we had done a very interesting utsav, or a festival of Fulkari, which we had called Mela Fulkari, and we had published a book on some very interesting Fulkaris and the use of Fulkari, the innovative use of Fulkari in different objects, some of which we've kept here for you to see. Now, I'm just going to read a little bit from my text to start the discussion going between Kirandeep and myself. There is a little bit of a PPT happening. Can you just take it back to the map? Just wanting to first show you the map of the region of Punjab. Punjab, the land of 5 rivers. When we think of Punjab, we think of it as the land of milk and honey, of bhangra, of disco, of sarson ka saag and makki ka roti. But you know, this is also what I used to think of Punjab when I went there 33 years ago. As a young bride, I moved from Mumbai to Chandigarh, and the first word I learned was sajje, right and left, khabe. But more than that, what was very interesting for me to see was, you know, that Punjab was a land of a lot of culture and not just agriculture. Because that's another thing, when you think of PL 480 and you think of Punjab and they say, oh my God, Punjab is a land. Many people from Punjab themselves say, oh, it's a land of agriculture and no culture. So I have now started taking cudgels on behalf of the hinterland of Punjab, because it is full of many nuanced aspects of culture, and we have taken one particular object, which is the Fulkari. When I was teaching the history and culture of Punjab, I came across a particular 2-line ditty which said, Khata pita laheda, baki Ahmed Shaheda. All what you eat and drink is yours, and the rest will be taken away by the Afghan ruler Ahmed Shah Abdali, who invaded Punjab 17 times and ransacked it. So you can imagine how rich and how wonderful Punjab was. This is not really an introduction on a hagiography of Punjab, but Punjab, I want to put on record, is a land which has stood as a sentinel to the country. And we've had all kinds of invasions from the 3rd century BC to almost the 1526 was Babur who came from here, the first battle of Panipat. We've had people coming into India from this route. Yet the country has transformed itself, it has innovated itself, it has accepted a lot of influences, but never did really lose its own indigenous identity. When I talk of Pulkari, I want to also talk of the fact that Pulkari was a fabric which was woven by the women. It was a woman-centric, handmade, woven on a khaddar, where the women wove their dreams, their aspirations, what they thought of, their inner landscapes, and you'll just see certain pulkaris and bags which are being shown here, just for you to have a variety of the kind of work which was being done in Punjab. What we will also do is, at a later stage in the discussion, Kirandeep will explain to you each traditional pulkari, what it means, what it stands for, and how the pulkari over the years has transformed itself. Now, before I request Kiran to take on the mic and start telling you about each and every aspect of pulkari, there are some images which are very general, which are basically showing you that the traditional pulkari came from the word gulkari. Now people wonder, when was pulkari done? Is it a modern day invention? Was it Vedic? Was it in Vedic times? Did it come with the Mughals? Now the thing is, we don't really have an exact time for this, but we definitely can trace it back to Central Asia. As you will see in all the countries through which even Babur came, as he came in from Central Asia, you will also see the same patterns of the pulkari, which is almost like a shadow work as we call it. You'll also see it in Iran, you will see it in Afghanistan, you will see it of course in what is today known as Pakistan, you will see a lot of it in Sindh. So it came through all these areas, just being with a little tweaking of motifs, tweaking of color, but originally it was done on a maroon kind of madder colored khaddar with the traditional colors which you can see here. Over the years, of course, the transformations we will talk about later, but I would now like Kirandeep to start explaining. Can we just just show these slides before we come to Sangrur, isn't it? It's the Sangrur type of pulkaris. Because what you see are, pulkari becomes also a kind of a cloth from birth to death. Every occasion in traditional Punjab, every occasion of auspiciousness in particular was accompanied with a pulkari. Whether it was a batua like this pure pulkari, or the daj which was covered, which is the dowry or what you are getting from your in-laws, it all came covered in a pulkari. The bride wore a pulkari. So this was a very, very beautiful textile, which was a textile of auspiciousness, of dreams, of magic, of a very personal memoir as well. Thank you, Alka ji.
Well, she has stayed so long in Punjab and she knows the real essence. And what she has told you, I'm just adding a little detail on it. That, like for example, you see what pattern is it? It was very important on various occasions. Different patterns were made. Now this is the wheat. The wheat stalk has been embroidered. So setta, as she rightly points out. So this is kind of a depiction of fertility. So at the time of marriage, this is the kind of fulkari that's given. Next. I wish I had the.
I'll do it.
Now, as she rightly mentioned, that this goes all over Central Asia, but right now we'll be talking basically about fulkari in Pakistan and in India. So we call it the East and the West. The western side, the difference between the fulkari bag, which is made, is like these are pieces of. If you see, there are 2-3 pieces of cloth that was woven. That was, this is stitched together. Now the difference between the East and the West was that on the Indian side, we first stitch it and then embroidered it, and on the Pakistani side, or the, instead of on the west side, on the east side we first stitch it and then embroider, and on the east side it is first embroidered and then the pieces are stitched together. There's also a difference of colors, like the base color. There are basically 4 colors. You have the white base, you have the maroon base, you have the orange base, and you also have the black and navy base. Now the white base is more common in the western side. That's how what I'm wearing. It's done on a white base, and this is from the from across the border. So you see there are lots of colors. The base color, a young girl would wear something which is base is maroon, and on that various colors are done. Red, black or a navy base would be used for a daily wear. White base is usually for the old lady. So you see there are different patterns that are followed, and how it is done. There are basically the darning stitch that is used, and the thread is the untwisted silk floss, which is called the patda dhaga. And it takes a very long time. If we really go by the technique, the real way of working on a fulkari is from the wrong side. They used the khadar fabric because on that the webs and the warps were very visible. And they just counted. There was nothing that was, they did not demarcate earlier or draw anything. It just went by the technique. And you don't see anything at the back. And you see that the front is all covered with the thread. It took really long. It took almost a bar like this, in which a lady would spend 2 to 3 hours a day. Would take almost a year or more. And the motifs were, very everyday life motifs. They were, like you saw, there was the wheat stalk, there was the birds. There were, when we go to the different types of bags, then we'll know that what kind of bags were done at various times. Next please. For example, that's a lady and a kid, and that's a guy. So the scenes of daily life were embroidered. This is something which is, like has more elephants and all. It is rare. This happens very rarely, but these motifs are also there because all these pictures are taken from our own collection. We are fortunate to have a collection of almost 300 bags, which are collected from various places, and now we are trying to digitize them. We are trying to take pictures and keep them for the coming generations to see, and also for the revival. If we want to make sure that these patterns do not just go into the oblivion, we have to make sure that the ladies now also practice the old patterns. So we are trying to digitize these. So all these are pictures from our own collection. So as the word Bagh is used with Fulkari. Fulkari is full flower kari making. So flower making on cloth. When it is not entirely covering the fabric, it is a fulkari, and when it's like you don't see any fabric, any beneath the base fabric, then it's a bagh or a garden, because the flowers are so many, so it becomes a bagh. The different types of baghs. The first one we talk about is the chop. Now this stitch is not the regular darning stitch. This is the Hopland stitch, in which there's only a single shade that is embroidered on a lighter version, a lighter fabric, and later on after the embroidery, the bagh is dyed into red. So the base color takes the red, the embroidery color doesn't, so it remains as a single color embroidery. The significance of this is that the chop was always made by the nani, or the maternal grandmother of the daughter. So as soon as the lady becomes a nani, she starts making a chop, which she would eventually give to her granddaughter when she gets married. So that's the significance of the chop. That's a picture of a chop. It's a grandmother's gift. This is called Vari da Bagh. I don't know how many of you know Punjabi here. Vari is those are the gifts that are collected by the in-laws for the bride, is the Vari. And Daj is what is done by the parent side. So Vari da Bagh is the Bagh which is collected by the mother-in-law for the new entrant in the family, which is usually on a maroon or a dark shade with a golden embroidery of this pattern. And there could be some parts where maybe a triangle is made, which is like a ghungat bagh, wherein that particular area, that triangular area, will cover the head of the bride. Now this is called the Bavan Bagh. So Bavan is 52. There are 52 boxes in which various patterns are made, and they are all embroidered into one bagh. So that's how it is called the Bavan Bagh. That's Ghungat Bagh, as I told you. There are different patterns. Usually it's in the triangular form or it's on the border. For example, this could also be a category of Ghungat Bagh, what you see right here. This comes on the head. There are different embroidered. So this is a kind of a magnified image of the pattern. Again, we've picked up and put it on fabric. You'll see some of our digital Fulkari patterns on the products we have outside. That's a Darshan Dwar, which says the gate offering a view of the deity. So Darshan, we all know that's. So you see, this is a form of a gate, and this is usually used for purpose of giving in the temple or for some festive occasion. It's basically made with gates. That's a bigger view of the Darshan Dwar. It's called the devotional bagh because it's usually used during religious rites. That's the Subair, which is presented by the Nankas, the mamas, the maternal side of the girl at the time of the wedding. There are certain pieces of Subair. Now that's the Til Patra. So some of them are very, they are not embroidered completely, very less embroidery. This little embroidery is probably for daily use of people who really can't afford too much. So that's the reason. At one point of time in Punjab, there was also one kind of category of bagh that was used by people of a lower economic strata. And there was another which was used by the higher class people. So there was a difference in their making also. Now that's the Senchi Fulkari. Village life of Punjab was depicted in Senchi Fulkari, and this style was restricted to very few areas of Punjab such as Firozpur and Batinda. But then talks about what is happening in the village. So the life of the village is depicted in various motifs in this Senchi Fulkari. Next. This is Salu, which is a plain red or dark red khaddar shawl, which is used for daily wear. It's very light. It can be used. It's just regular cotton and very small motifs on it. That's the thirma. This is a very typical pattern in which the base is always off-white or white, and a red embroidery is done. This is because white is the color of purity. This is usually used by elderly women or some widows too. That's Chamba ka rumal. You must have heard. Although this is not entirely actually a fulkari, but it is just you can say it has been influenced by fulkari because there's not so much of material, or the embroidery technique of Chamba is not, we don't have much material on it, so we just call it that it is a hybrid fulkari, the Chamba ka rumal. That is Nilak, and it is again fulkari in yellow, red, done on black or navy fabric. That's Chand Bagh. So you see the form of diamonds, these are the patterns in it, and you'll see certain parts in the fulkari where there'll be something discordant about it, a little bit. For example, this bag also, specifically a little part has been done in a different color, or maybe one part has been left separate, or that particular point has been, something else has been put. So it's very interesting to know that this is done. This is done because people do not want nazar. That's called the nazar booty. They feel that just like the mothers put a black, black bindi on the kids, usko nazar na lage. Similarly, on the bag, they put a small discordant or a khali square or maybe a different color pattern just to, and they call it the nazar booty. That's another bag type. It's called the ikka bag. So that is also pachranga. Although the pattern is similar to what you have here, pachranga, because there are 5 colors that are being used here. There's the blue, the red, the green, the yellow, the beige. That's a Kaudi bag. You see the small the squares, the white squares. Kaudi was the currency that was used. So they used that Kaudi as a motive in making these bags with a lehariya. It's usually done in a diagonal form. That's the pachranga I talked about with 5 exquisite colors. That's a small magenta point, you see, which doesn't really fit in. So that's the nazar booty.
Can show the gungar. If you go back and
similarly, that's also a nazar booty. That's again a thirma. There's a nazar booty there on the left top corner. That's about 1469. I want ma'am to take over.
Yeah, I suppose you can't talk about your own work. I came in touch with Harinder and Kirandeep some years ago. It was, I think, when they say that it was not a chance encounter but serendipity at its best. I'd lived in Punjab for about 20 years and had done a book on the folk instruments and music of Punjab, which I shared with Harinder and Kirandeep, and we then met many times and visited his shop, 1469, which is, you must be wondering why, is it a Saks Fifth Avenue kind of shop in New York. It's not that, but definitely 1469 is a very significant number in the Sikh faith, because that was the year of the birth of Guru Nanak. And with that came a new renaissance in Punjab as part of Bhakti. Now 1469, next one. 1469 became actually the brainchild of this couple who was actually doing something quite different before. They were doing Pret garments, it was all about commerce and retail. But I suppose, you know, sometimes your because we are Indian, we believe in a karmic destiny, it takes you back to the past. And Harinder writes very interestingly in this booklet that we had done about why he came back to Pulkari. I'll just quote him a little bit when he says that my affair with Punjab goes back to my childhood. Partition of the Greater Punjab in 1947 brought our family from Okara, now in Pakistan, to Amir Khas in Firozpur. My grandfather, who belonged to a family of landlords, struggled to make a life for himself in his adopted city. In 52, he migrated to Delhi and he's been here ever since. Now, in spite of having been born and brought up in the capital, my heart is still that of a rustic farmer, which belongs to the green fields and uncomplicated rural life in the land of 5 rivers. Now, what you will see is that what he's doing in his shop, which is, I would like to say is thriving, but I suppose as a person who's in the retail business, people like to be very conservative and say, yeah, it's doing well. But in the winter months, this is his shop. It's done in a very innovative manner in the heart of Janpad. These pictures really don't do justice to it, but what he's trying to do is, he is bringing, I would say, infusing a life into the traditional arts and crafts of Punjab, in the way William Morris did the arts and crafts movement in the UK. In the same way, 1469 is trying to bring back a kind of validation to the arts and crafts of Punjab. What is also helping is this huge cross-cultural dialogue, the big Punjabi diaspora, which comes back to their country, particularly in the winter months, and they long to take a little memento back home, which is easy to carry. So what I did request the couple was to bring little, how should I say, like a taster, a palette of what they do, which a lot of it is outside, from parandis to these lovely juttis. I've tried to, show or represent as much as I can. Outside you'll see what they're doing. So it's not something which is a relic of the past, which is to be kept in museums, but he's reinventing even the use of language in many, many interesting ways. This Mela Pulkari was done at the Habitat earlier this year. Can you just take it back? Because I do want to show Imtiaz Ali there, who used the Pulkari from Harinder in his film Highway. So he came back. There's Pammi Bai, one of the most traditional musicians and dancers who travels the world over, but wears the traditional Pulkari. Next. These are some little things which you will see, which he has put in the Mela Pulkari, giving it a Mela effect. Next. The traditional Pulkaris, and even the the poster was done with the Pulkari stitches and all hand stitched. So what he's really doing is, he's bringing the handmade back at one level, and at another level, he's digitalizing all the old prints and putting them as stoles, as wearable attire. But for those who cannot afford the original, they have a taste of the original. Next. This is the map. Yeah. Now see, these are little objet art which he's making, where each piece is hand embroidered. He's called it the Sangrur bell. Next. This is, I think you should be talking about this. 5 minutes.
Okay. So when we talk about Fulkari and we present it to the world, we get lots of people asking what it is all about, and like I've told you here, we are almost repeating this in our stores for people who are coming from overseas, because Janpat, our store on the main street of Delhi, is visited by people of all parts of the world and of course India. So while we do that, we have taken this oath of not just familiarizing people about Fulkari and making products that are more usable in the modern day, but we are also trying to make sure that this is bringing back some economic independence to the women, to Punjab itself. Most of the work that we do, none of it is done outside Punjab, although we retail it in Delhi also, we brought it here, but it's all done in Punjab. Especially we are working these days with Building Bridges India, which is an NGO which is working with families of farmer suicide victims in Sangrur. There are lots of villages there, which might some of you might be surprised to know that Punjab is all about prosperity, but there are certain problems there too, and there are farmer suicides happening. So we are trying to get the ladies, the women of those homes to come. It's not easy, it's very difficult because they're so much traumatized. To get them back to do work, it takes time, but they open up and slowly and steadily they are creating the Sangrur bell, which you first saw. These are small, they are keychains, and slowly, steadily, the ones that can work better, those are making borders. Then some of them are then making dupattas. So slowly and steadily, now we have almost started off with 1 center, 2, 3. Now there are almost 6 centers in Sangrur. So we are trying to get back some of the, to give back what they are doing. These are some of the products that we've got along. That's the Pakhi, which is stylized in a different way. I think it's being used very well over here because it's sweating outside. So there are other things like small cushions, and you see there are waistcoats there again. This is made out of a parantha. This is made out of this is one kind of Fulkari which is called parantha, not the one that you eat, but the one you wear. This is on a silk chiffon and it is made in a square form. So it's called the parantha style. The colors could be tonal or depending on your choice. That's again made out of an old bark. There are certain barks that we cannot really keep them because from one side all got spoiled and eroded, and then whatever area, if we have a small part remaining of it, we convert it into something like, this is made out of an old bark, that's a potli, or we convert it into something like a face coat here. So we try to mix and match with, so that we give it a more festive look, the look that people look for. That's again a parantha. That's again one of these. This is a regular, that's the kind of Fulkari which is done these days, because it is not very easy to get the women to do the work that was done originally, because this takes a lot of time. So we are having a two-way approach. On one hand, we are creating commercial products that sell and let people know about what Fulkari is. On the other hand, we are trying to revive the older version of Fulkari, because unless they do not get some economic financial help from these pieces that are made faster, they will never, we can never make them to do these things. So we are working on two approaches at the same time, having something with a modern day concept and also trying to revive the real way of making Fulkari. Thanks a lot for your time, and we'll be happy to get your feedback on our website. We have a website and there's a feedback column in that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for being such a wonderful audience. If there are any questions you'd like to ask, if there is any time. Otherwise, I'm sure Kirandeep and Harinder are there for the next 2 days to show and tell you anything else you want to.
So where do you get these embroidery threads?
This is, as I told you, this is Pat Dhaga. This is not the regular anchor silk thread. So this is available at certain embroidery. You have to look for it. You have to ask specifically for these. And they are in Punjab. They are very easily available. In Delhi also there are places where you get them. We call them Pat Dhaga.
When you were talking about, there was a lot of, that one where you had there was this not so filled with embroidery. There was work done. It looked very much like the Kachi work.
Yes, there is a similarity.
A lot of the woven Kachi work.
Yes, the Suf embroidery. There's a similarity with the Suf dhaga.
And I see Madam has got mirrors.
Yeah,
So how
this is very contemporary.
So how would you weave in the mirrors?
It's
These are
kind
not
of-
mirrors, these are sequins. Sequins are put, that's what I'm saying, everything is contemporarized now, and the old pieces will definitely have, they'll have a Sindhi impact, Kutch impact, Kashmiri impact. If you see, we have some pieces, I have a digital piece of a Swat Valley piece from Pakistan. The embroidery there is very different. We have a digital piece of that. We got to get the pictures from Sudha Kushwant Singh. He has a very nice collection. So as you go across the region, there will be influences from everywhere, and it's all close by, isn't it?
The regional influences are there as the, because it was a nomadic thing.
Yeah.
So when they would keep going from place to place, it's like the food, the cuisine which keeps changing.
And they have not used this to document history.
Well, there has been documentation done at the IGNCA.
No, not the documentation of the art. See, like you have the French tapestries,
Yes.
which recorded the stories of
Yes.
the people.
Yeah,
Yes.
Something like that.
There are some of them. In the village
So
there
the
are.
ones, where you showed the motives of.
Yeah, but not political things like the buyer's tapestry and things like that, but just about general village life, social life. There are a couple of Fulkaris, I think, which have recorded important events, but not many, very few, far and
not
in between.
for the historical point of view.
No.
So Fulkari was never done for commercial purpose. It was always for the family for various occasions. It's only later, maybe end of the 19th century, end of the 20th century, before the partition or just around the partition, then people started giving away their pieces, wanted to sell them, because see, the partition changed the psyche of Punjab. So the art, this particular art, they were thinking of how to get bread to their mouth, not to do art, at that point of time. So that's when I got lost a little.
I just
And also it was
saying that Fulkari was never a commissioned work kind of a thing. It was something which is,
Done
you
for
could
the
say a
family.
folk kind of thing done
But only
by
for the
women.
family.
It was also received wisdom. It went from mother to daughter. That is what it was. From mother to daughter it went. Also from mother-in-law to, as it was said, welcoming the
Very
daughter-in-law.
patriarchal thing.
Yeah.
It was a very feminine activity, and you can see it's a very interesting study for feminist scholars also, because you'll see there are certain Fulkaris which are more bold than others, some which are talking about the village life, some which are just talking about their lost dreams, some which are purely decorative in nature.
So it's the psyche of the person who's doing it, the embroidery also signifies. You are
If it is used regularly, okay, how will it take to washing? Because a lot of thread work is there.
You see, these are all contemporarized. So this is all done on silk. Depends on if we are these can be washable. The cotton ones also. The silk ones, you know, you usually do not hand wash silk. If as
These bags.
the bags were all did not run color. The old pieces, but now bags are hardly made. These are all old pieces.
How long will it last? 100 years?
Yeah.
I've got
They are-
200-year-old
If they are
bag.
kept, if they are kept without moisture, if they make sure, what happened is that people in the villages who have these pieces, they don't know the worth of it. In Sangrur, I talked to some ladies. The old ladies, one of them was 82, and she was kind of thinking, "Mera kinna, what is my age? What was my age when it was 40?" So she didn't even know her age, but she said that साढ़े कोल बाग सिगे, but we just made we made daris out of it, or we made just rugs out of it. They don't know the worth of it because they got it, they didn't realize that this is not done anymore, so they should be kept like as masterpieces.
So they pass them on from mother to daughter?
Yes, very much so.
So I just want to add, it's not Fulkari what we were supposed to do. It just happened out of blue. This was, 10 years back we discovered that this is not happening much on the retail side. Visiting various retailers. So we just trying to make it a eye catcher. Like a lot of people know what Kantha work is, right? So Fulkari, we could see, this is our research among a lot of youth in Delhi. We are Delhi, so we discover a lot of youth, they don't know this word. They said we have heard, but we don't know what is it. So that's our journey, our day one was just to define this word. So we spent 10 years, we've reached here, we've not done much yet. So, we're very happy that we are here, bringing this word out in the world market. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Alka Pandey and Kirandeep Kaur, for that presentation, Embroidery Life Weaving Dreams.